Managing multiple clients or large websites? Automate your SEO with Alley AI. Start your free trial now.
Taylor Swift is a link builder. There were rumors that she would get engaged. Our client said, let's give them a free wedding venue. And then we got them 50 links. That's digital PR.
Wix Studio, one end-to-end web creation platform for your agency to deliver exceptional work with absolute efficiency.
The 80s were awesome. I'm not talking about video cassettes or rockin' hairbands or even crazy cool mullets. I'm talking about the internet. The internet had tons of promise. It had promise of remote work, e-commerce businesses, multimedia classrooms, a world that looks very similar to today. A world that has enabled all of our jobs today. But even 12 years after the internet was invented, brilliant Clifford Stoll, astronomer and futurist, said all of that is baloney. I see a lot of similarities between the 80s and today, between the internet and AI. The internet had lots of promise. It also had a lot of critics. AI has lots of promise, and it has a lot of critics. But most importantly, mullets are back. Now that video was taken in November of 2022. That was my partner and I on a booze cruise down in Florida. Now, the world changed in November of 2022, not because of that video, but because ChatGPT launched. And despite AI having been in the background for decades before, and GPTs having been around for even 5 years before ChatGPT was launched, that was Pandora's box opening for AI. It moved from the back rooms of Google and Facebook's algorithms to the forefront of the public eye, where we can actually interact with generative AI in a new and innovative way. And if you were anything like me, you stayed up late testing the bounds to really understand what could this new technology ultimately do for you? How will this ultimately impact our work day to day? And how will it impact your career and your team? And I quickly realized, wow, ChatGPT is a hell of a poet and a horrible calculator. And as my team got more and more integrated using ChatGPT, they came to me with some fear. And I would call that fear FOBO, the fear of becoming obsolete. They would come to me and say, what are we going to do? This new technology, it can ideate new content ideas, it can even generate content. Like said, it's a hell of a poet. And there were also articles coming out from Sam Altman, the guy who invented it, saying, oh yeah, ChatGPT is going to handle 95% of marketing's work. That is scary. As I reflected on this, I was reminded of one of my favorite high school teachers who really instilled in me, your job is to become obsolete. When you are able to do things differently than you did 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, that denotes progress. When you are able to upskill your team to do the things that you no longer need to do, that is what becoming obsolete looks like. This is not something we should fear. There is going to be an evolution, and that is an exciting thing. Change is the only certainty. And when we look at something like Satir's change model, we understand that something like the advent of the internet is a shock. And then we enter into chaos. Eventually it's resolve, integration, and a new normal. In the case of the internet, this change model took 20 years, 2 decades, invented in the 80s, 12 years later, squarely in the chaos phase with brilliant people saying, the internet isn't going to amount to anything. And then, of course, Google became the leading search engine in the early 2000s. In the case of AI, I think we can squarely agree we are in the chaos phase right now. And none of us know how it's ultimately going to pan out. But I can say with confidence, it's going to be a much longer change model than I think anyone realizes. And there are smart people like Rand Fishkin to say, AI is not coming for your job. I'll bet you $5,000. And if you were to make that bet against Rand, it would be a bad bet historically speaking, because the internet creates 2.4 jobs for every one job that it destroyed. This is called creative destruction among economists. But the difference between the internet or say a calculator, which is used as a tool in our workspace, is AI is an agent. AI is going to be integrated into your organization's structure. And I think the fear is that AI is going to replace some people within that organization structure. So I'm here with a framework for you to ultimately stay above AI in your organization's hierarchy. And this is a framework that I've applied at Brainlabs for 3 years. And in that 3 years, Brainlabs has seen a 400% increase in monthly recurring revenue, working with some of the world's biggest brands. And today we have a team of over 90 SEO and CRO experts plugged into a 1,000-person full-service agency. So let's walk through SOAR, where we're going to discuss streamlining the basics, orchestrating your team, automating monotony, and repositioning your focus. I always tell my team, streamlining the basics is 80% of our job. That is the part that if you nail, you've done 80% of the work, good job. The reality is in an AI world, AI is going to know more than you. You will be able to care more than AI. That nuance of emotion and what matters and how do you ultimately integrate all of those stakeholders, that is your leverage among AI. This was from Dharmesh, co-founder of HubSpot. He says this. So a very simple way to show that you care more is to align your KPIs with other stakeholders' KPIs, the business executives. So instead of talking about things like keyword rankings and site engagement and conversions, talk about things like share of voice, lifetime value, and revenue. And when we think of reporting, hopefully this is automated for most of you, it needs to start with those most important KPIs that that audience ultimately cares about. In the case of business executives, that's revenue. Please, please, please do not start with sessions or rankings. Start with revenue. And say you're working with the paid search team, start with metrics they ultimately care about and automate your reports to build for that particular audience. And when you streamline those basics, that is ultimately how we create progress. Now, I think I can safely say that most SEOs tend to be introverted. And even those that aren't sometimes get excited when a client cancels a meeting or the boss cancels a meeting. I'm here to say that that silence is a threat, not a relief. You want to make sure that you are having those routine communications so you can understand what matters to each of those audiences. So say in quarterly road mapping, make sure you invite those executives to really understand what are their priorities, what's keeping them up at night. On a monthly performance cadence, make sure that we ultimately are showing and highlighting what matters to the audience that we are reporting out to. And then on a weekly status, you can swap between the strategy team, the content team, the development team, and the PR team. So again, you are hearing directly from them about what they care about, what their priorities are. And this allows you to align your strategy with their strategy. Now, once you've nailed the basics with KPIs, reporting, communication cadences, you're ready to become a maestro and orchestrate your team. The reality is your boss cannot be the only one who believes in SEO. That's a very risky position to be in if someone moves elsewhere within the org or moves on from the org. You really want to make sure that you have other stakeholders ultimately bought into the work that you are doing. So the easiest way to do this is create an SEO strategy flywheel, and on a quarterly cadence, come with new ideas to each of those stakeholders and get their buy-in in a discovery meeting, and then build your SEO roadmap. They can help guide you, and you can collaborate with them. Then you move on to execution, and how this becomes a flywheel, you ultimately want to measure which of those initiatives had an outsized impact. And then hopefully by the third or fourth quarter, you're focused on things that over and over again will have an outsized impact. I'm sure we're all a fan of checklists. We've heard plenty of talks on how important checklists are. I would take that one step further and say that creating a partnership playbook where you are writing down the communication cadences, the KPIs, links to all of the most important work and routine things that people need to reference when speaking with anyone involved within SEO or on your team. Putting that into a partnership playbook creates a culture of SEO advocacy. It allows for easy onboarding. It allows for stakeholders to ultimately get excited. So you probably thought, with AI being in the title of this talk, that I was going to start by talking about automations, AI, all of that stuff. But the truth is, nailing the basics and orchestrating your team are going to be important no matter the world that is happening as it relates to technology. So now we can finally focus on automating monotony. Now, I'm fortunate enough that Brainlabs has a team of over 40 engineers to help us build proprietary technology and custom tech for clients. We were founded on this. Our global CEO said anything done thrice should be automated. But even with building these automations and any new technology, the root of all of that is human. You writing down those processes, those checklists, your streamlined approach of which data are you pulling from which of those tools like SEMrush or Ahrefs or SEO Clarity, and then ultimately strategizing, okay, here is our unique approach to how we use this data. Then you can take it to an engineer and say, hey, go build this thing. And then they come back with a minimum viable product, you can tweak it, and you're good to go. But you're not done, because you can care more. We don't want to focus on things that only take 5 minutes. We want to focus on automating things that take 50 hours. And our very own UK team actually did this. They came with this idea that, hey, we're spending a lot of time on content briefs, pulling data from all of these different sources to really come up with the best content brief possible. We believe there's a better way to do this, and our tech team built Brain Briefs, a generative content creation platform. Now, this is great. It saved us 4x efficiency on any content brief creation, dropping the time down to about 3 to 4 minutes. Most of the time when we talk about tech and automation, it is surrounding efficiency. But automations don't just save time, they can improve quality. We have expanded this to have a content scraper that can check the content pass-fail against QA checklist, brand guidelines, SEO guidelines. This is how you ultimately deliver better quality. And that human loop is essential for that quality. So after streamlining the basics, orchestrating your team, and automating monotony, this is really where you can go from focusing on SEO work to repositioning your focus on even bigger business priorities, initiatives, helping launch new products, new sections of the site. And I know this is scary, change is scary, but the difference between fear and confidence is knowledge. We can learn this. And the good news is we have more data than we ever thought we would have. And there are tools like Search Pilot for SEO A/B testing. At Brainlabs, we have impact trackers that can track optimized URLs against benchmark URLs, even accounting for things like seasonality and tech SEO changes and all of that jazz. But anytime you use data, it's always historical, it's always retroactive. To innovate something and to reposition your focus, it takes a bit of chemistry. And it was Clifford Stoll, that same astronomer, who said, you should not listen to scientists and engineers when thinking about how the world is going to change, but rather you should listen to kids. Kids are going to be the ones who ultimately ideate what that new future looks like. I don't know what happens in the new normal. I don't think any of us do in this room. But if AI lives up to its promises, as the internet has, it could mean that my mom wasn't going through chemotherapy, or my grandma didn't pass away from a car accident, or we have a bright future ahead, avoiding a climate crisis. That is really exciting. And if that means AI can go write some title tags and meta descriptions for me, and I don't have to do that work anymore, I'm okay with that. And this is why it's okay for us to become obsolete and to note progress and evolve. Speaking of loved ones, today is my partner's birthday. And he's somewhere in the audience here. Yep, there he's waving his hand. I would love it if we, and he has no idea I'm doing this, I would love it if we could sing Happy Birthday for Justin. Please join me. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Justin. Happy birthday to you. Beautiful. Thank you. I love that. Thank you so much. So I want to ask, how will you soar into your next career step so somehow you can convince 1,000 people to sing happy birthday to your partner? In this new world of AI, your personal KPIs are compassion, caring more, communication, being able to understand how you can package up these insights and really make them land. And speed and scale of decisions, so leveraging this technology by automating monotony so you can ultimately reposition your focus. So on things like reporting, communication cadences, and executive readouts, make those like clockwork. On things like creating a partnership playbook, use that to help orchestrate your team like a maestro. And don't forget to automate the tedious stuff, focusing not only on the efficiency, but the quality as well. This is how we go from being SEO leaders and SEO executives to business leaders and business executives and having an outsized impact on our organization, growing our career, growing our teams, and ultimately improving the world. Thank you, Brighton. I'm Travis Tallent, VP of SEO at Brainlabs. Thank you.
Monthly reporting making you want to shove sharp things up your nose? Try Dragon Metrics, the all-in-one SEO software with mind-blowing reporting tools.